Welcome to the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we remember a time when stacks of cards were held together with rubber bands and Mickey mantles were put in bike spokes. We hope you will enjoy and reminisce as you come along with us as we tell stories about the baseball cards from the Golden Age of Baseball. We will examine the state of the vintage baseball card market and talk to some of the greatest collectors in the hobby. You won't be hearing us talk about any chrome or shiny cards here. Now, to take you on this retrospective journey, here's your host, direct from the shallow end of the gene pool, my son, Mike Moynihan.
Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, and welcome to another great episode of the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast. All things vintage, and not just cards that are vintage, like old cards themselves, but man, we like to talk about all sorts of cool stuff, including modern cards that have a vintage twist. And that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm really excited about our guest tonight. It's Blake Jameson. And if you don't know who Blake Jameson is, come out from under the hobby rock that you've been living under. Blake is one of the most prominent people in the hobby today in terms of the sports artists that have contributed to Project 2020. He has his own line of cards, 1951s. We're going to talk about that. He is going to be involved in Project 70, which is the new Topps thing, and I've got some questions for him about that. So we might as well just bring him on right now and start getting into it. Blake, how you doing, man?
What's going on, Mike? Doing good. How are you?
Welcome back to the show.
Thanks.
A lot of people may not know that I interviewed you back in my baseball collectors channel days. We had a good time back when Project 2020 was.
That was like one of my first interviews, baseball card related interviews. Honestly, it might have been the first one.
Well, I'm glad to have helped you launch you owe everything to me.
I owe it all to you. Here we are.
Or Eric, either me or Eric. I don't know which one.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of people. I got a lot of really awesome support. You know, the hobby is a very generous community, and it's fun to be back in it.
Have you been surprised at that? Because you were one of the ones, one of the artists that in Project 2020 when it started, you embraced the hobby community. Unlike anyone else, a lot of guys followed suit after you. What did you think of that? What made you want to do that process of involving yourself that way?
I think it's great. It was a handful of things. Number one, like I grew up as a card collector and, you know, collected baseball cards and then basketball cards and then Pokemon cards and then Beanie Babies and then Magic cards. Like, you know, I was always collecting something. And so I think that the collector in me like was eager to get back into collecting something anyways. And so that's great. And I didn't know, you know, when I was collecting cards before, it was all the only cards that I would ever see are the ones that were at my local card store or, you know, every once in a while if I went to a convention, but that was like really only a couple times ever. And so now with the internet, you know, you get to some crazy one of one card comes out and like you can actually enjoy it and see photos of it and engage with the person who has it. And so that's really cool. You know, I think the dynamic changed with the hobby with it coming online. You know, online there's pros and cons. You know, there's some toxicity in anywhere on the internet that you go. But I think in general, the hobby's been a really positive place for me and been very supportive of my art and helping me continue to stay inspired and keep doing what I do.
Yeah, and I mean, you embraced it in forums. You're on YouTube for a long time. You were literally the 1023 Club. You did a live show on YouTube at 10:23 p.m. Eastern every night for a long time. You're now doing what, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah. And it's crazy because before I ever streamed, I couldn't have imagined streaming every single night, right? It's a lot. And then I started doing it. And then it was like I couldn't stop. I mean, it was great. Like, you know, sometimes I would take nights off, but I would feel like anxious, like not checking in with my people. And then, you know, obviously, you know, we go through phases of everything. And then it just started to become like it was a lot. And on top of all of my other responsibilities as a Topps artist and just as an artist in general of keeping on top of my work. So it was strategic to kind of start scaling that back a little bit. I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday is a good spot for me for now. I will keep that for at least as we kick off Project 70. As the year progresses, I don't know if I'm going to do 3 nights a week the entire year or not, but I'm just going to go until I feel like it, basically.
Gotcha. What is your YouTube channel, just for people out there that might want to go check it out?
Yeah, so it's just my name, youtube.com/Blake Jameson, Jamieson.
I will put a link in the YouTube video here. Again, if you don't, if you're not familiar, you need to go watch it, because you do a lot of great stuff. You'll paint on camera, you'll open mail, you'll sign autographs. You're doing all kinds of different stuff any given day of the week, and so it's a nice, diverse stuff. I think me watching you paint is one of my favorite things. Doing your stencils and all the things that you do in your style of painting, which is amazing. You got me into Project 2020, by the way. I want to talk about Project 2020 and kind of wrap the bow on that. I was not into it at all. I thought it was completely lame, actually, at the very beginning, just being completely transparent. I thought it was very gimmicky of Topps. And then you started coming on, and when you get to know someone behind that, behind the scenes a little bit, it adds an element of, this may sound cheesy, but intimacy to that. And it made it much more special. And then I started buying some cards. I actually got a couple of them here. Here's the Jackie you did, 52 Topps. I'm showing it. I was lucky enough to get an artist autograph. I bought an autograph, which is numbered 42 of 42.
Such a good one,
right? Card number 42, number 42 of 42 in the beautiful blue ink. I love you're one of the guys that started and originated this artist autograph idea. Buy your own cards, sign them for the sell them on the secondary market, which is brilliant marketing, and having different colors and just mimicking the card market itself, which I thought was brilliant. Here is the I just grabbed two. I have many of your cards, but there's the Ricky being Ricky. I know you're a big Oakland A's fan. What was this card? 57. So I love the Ricky. I love just your style. You stayed very true to the original card. You made, the Mattingly was cool, how you changed out the pictures, switched just different things you would do, but you stayed true to the original card as much as possible. And I thought some of the cards I saw were literally blasphemous to me as a card. I'm like going, what are you doing, ruining that or changing that so much that it just looks nothing like the original card? You did not do that, which I respect that. Yeah, but you still have to be unique, right? And put a unique spin on it. And I just thought you did that amazing all the way through Project 2020.
Thank you.
Were you sad to see that be done, or were you just like, oh God, I've been doing this all year, I'm tired of it?
Yeah, no, I mean, so yes and no. I think there were a couple moments at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021 that kind of were hit hard as soon as it happened. So like I submitted my last card to Topps. As soon as I hit send on that email, I'm like, dang, that's the last time I'm going to do that. But, Project 70 is right around the corner, so that's fine. Same thing with like getting my Gibson cards, which is my final card, in the mail. And that one had the foil inserts. So that was really cool. I think I appreciate what you said about me kind of trying to stick to the original card. And really, like, when Topps came to us at the beginning of the project, that was the idea of, you're remixing this iconic card, and we're going to, you're going to use the same photo and same kind of style inspiration. And then throughout the project, different artists just kind of went in totally different directions. And I remember I had asked, I don't remember which card it was, but I had asked if I could use a different photo of a player. And at first they said, no, you can't do that. And then one of the first, I think it was Old Man Allen, his Tony Gwynn came out, and he had just used a completely different, it was just a different, picture of Tony, which is fine now. But at the time, like, I was pissed. I'm like, I even went to Topps. I'm like, Top, like, what the heck? I just asked you if I could do something like this. You said no. And now here we have a card. And they're like, I'm sorry. This is like, we couldn't get him to do anything else, and at the time, like, it kind of pissed me off because I was like, well, I'm sticking to the rules. other artists are breaking them, or whatever. Now I have like a lot different mindset. It's funny how it all evolves. Like, I think it's cool. People are doing their own thing and like taking it totally different direction. I'm okay with that. But and then Topps basically came back to me and was like, you can use any photo you want of any player. Like, you just tell us what you want to do and we'll make it happen. But by that point, I'm like, no, actually, I'm going to stick to just the originals, because a lot of artists started deviating from the original card, the original photograph. And there's only like 3 or 4 of us, I think, that stuck strictly to the reference cards. And so I'm proud about that. But I also think it's fun, like, to see what the other artists are putting out, because since they were changing the game and using different images, you never knew what you were going to expect. Like one of my favorite cards, which is probably an unpopular opinion, but the Old Man Allen Mike Trout card, where it was like the kind of 3 ticket stubs.
Yep.
I thought that was brilliant. I love that as a baseball card. And I don't know, I just had so much fun with it. So it was cool. I appreciate like you recognizing, and some of the fans, know that, I stuck with the original card, and that was my intention. But I don't know. I no longer look down on, I mean, I never really looked down on any of their artists. I was just like, I don't know what I was, jealous or something. Like, I don't feel that anymore. I'm just like, okay, they're doing their thing. I'm doing my thing. And it is what it is. And I think like, if you look at my art over the 20 cards, when we get to the Gibson card, I think this was a nice kind of evolution of my art, and also like a really nice segue into the 1951 set, which basically came out as soon as 2020 ended, that 1951 launched. And like, so this style of the Gibson, with really like focused on the portrait and the face and big front and center, very kind of stylized and almost like cartoony, plays into kind of the next set, which at the time, like I was designing the 1951 set at the same time that I was making the Bob Gibson card. And so I kind of knew that I could have that like smooth transition, which I think, I don't know, I'm really happy with how it all came out.
Through the project 2020, did you become a better artist?
I think so. I think in a few ways. Number one, I didn't at first understand how the art would scale down to something that's so small as a baseball card. And so I think there were some of the early cards where I just wasn't creating my art for that scale. And so we lost some detail, or kind of things got kind of confusing when it got so small. So I think in that sense, I learned and got better as an artist to like produce for the end result. I also think Topps 2020 forced me to like have a ton of different challenges that my business has never seen before, mostly good. But like ultimately, like it's just a matter of like getting onto a bigger stage and having your art in front of more people, and what that does to a business, and what the business owner like myself is going to do with that attention. And so I think just as much as Project 2020 allowed me to grow as an artist creatively, I think it maybe even more so allowed me to push my own boundaries from a business perspective, and see where I could like how I could scale the business. And something you mentioned earlier about, doing the color autos, limited numbers, kind of mimicking what we already see in the hobby, was intentional, and at the time experimental. And I think I learned a lot through that will serve me and help my art business for the next, however long it lasts.
Yeah, I mean, you went from yourself essentially to a staff. Like,
yeah.
You literally had to have a staff to help you manage all the different things. That's got to be a lot to take on. When you at the end of the day, you probably just go, dude, I just want to paint. I don't want to have to deal with payroll or, mailing and shipping and all this crap. Just let me paint. But you've surrounded yourself with some great people and family members. I mean, you name it. You've got everybody, helping out, and that's awesome to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think like at the end of the day, like I do just want to paint, and all of the staff kind of hiring that I did over the last 12 months has basically, everything is intentionally trying to get me to have more free time to spend painting. But it's been great. I've gotten to work with my family. My sister is very active in my business. My dad runs everything on the website of things. Andy's one of my best friends, who's my accountant. also an artist. So that's great. But in terms of like, I do just want to paint, but also like, I think that, and I think a lot of people that have heard my interviews know this, but like I have a background in like business and marketing before art. And so as soon as I started painting full time at the age of 30, 6 years ago now, I wanted the business, I wanted these type of opportunities. And so there are times, there were days where I wished, I never got to pick up a paintbrush or a spray can the whole day. And I'm stuck behind a computer. I'm answering, I'm engaging with fans, or I'm answering questions, or I'm shipping art, or whatever it is. I would always try and kind of like just step back and remind myself, like, this is what I wanted, in my art career. And so the fact that now I can spend most days painting is great. And all those other parts of the business that I'm trying to fill little puzzle pieces like Tetris, getting the right people in the right positions, I think is fun. And it's a creative challenge just as much as making a new painting is.
Yeah, and having to spend your time doing lame ass interviews with, YouTube channels like Bench Clears.
I love this stuff.
Would you say that Project 2020 met or exceeded your expectations as you went in?
Oh, I mean, exceeded in every way, and it's not even close. From a just strictly print runs standpoint, my expectations were 200 would be a low print run, 2,000 would be a high. Obviously, we crushed that, and I also had no idea. I just didn't think about having 19 other artists as my peers within this project over the course of a year that I could like develop relationships with those people. And so like, my relationships with FDOT and JK5 and Gregory Siff were all something that was like a bonus on top of, what I hoped would be a good year. And that was just icing on the cake.
Yeah, this hobby tends to do that. It tends to bring people together with common ground of cardboard, in your case, art and cardboard.
Right.
And you, even though you might live in different parts of the country or even the world or wherever, you have this common passion for what you're dealing with. And that's what's great. That's one of the greatest things about this hobby, period, paragraph, right?
Right.
Forget about the cards as much as they're cool.
You're right.
It's about the people.
The people. It's the people and relationships, of course. Yeah, and honestly, like that's something that now going into Project 70, I'm like, holy crap, there's 50 other artists. And of Project 2020, I only got close is a relative term. I don't know, to like half of them, right? There's still a half the artists that I haven't maybe we've exchanged a message or two here and there, but that's not even everyone. Like I haven't talked to Don C. Haven't talked to Cartoon, and I would love to. And, maybe this year will provide that opportunity. It's also like me just prioritizing reaching out to these guys on their whatever platforms they're most active on, because every artist is different.
Yeah, that is awesome. Question about, let's get into 1951, because that was the project it just finished up.
Yep.
It's an online exclusive product issued by Topps. I think it was 8 waves. Is that right? 13 cards?
Four waves, 13 cards each.
Okay. I knew it was 13 cards. I thought it was more than that. But so it was what's 52 card set? Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love your picture on that box, by the way. And that's what your card looks like too, right?
Yeah. And check this out. So this is a wave 2 box. I just got these in the mail today, and I finally just pulled one. And it's number 2, which is kind of cool. 2 of 100.
Very cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's a trip. I wish it had the rookie card logo, but can't win them all. It might. I didn't realize that till later, so I like hit up Topps. I don't know now, like 3 weeks ago, saying, "Can we get a rookie card logo on the card?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know. We think the artist cards are already printed." So it might be a wave 3 and 4 might have a rookie card logo, but I'm not 100% sure. Also, just
in the player selection of that,
yep.
52 cards, did you have any input into that, or did Topps tell you, here's the 52 guys we want you to paint?
So that was mostly Topps. Well, I mean, it was exclusively Topps had the full list, and it's a mix. A couple guys from the original 1951 set, like Duke Snyder. All the way up to modern guys like Trout and Acuna and Tatis. They gave me a full list. There was a error where they had put Albert Pujols on there twice. And so I knew there was one extra spot, and Hank Aaron was not in the set originally. And so that was my only contribution to the list, was when I saw that Pujols was on there twice. I said, hey, let's put Hank Aaron in the set. I think it'd be a good fit. And that was before he had passed away. And so I was really glad that happened, because that happened like last, November or something is when that decision was made. But besides that, it was tops. I was really happy. I think the selections they made were really cool, and they were the ones that suggested that I could have my own card as like a chase card, which was, also a dream.
Sure. I love one thing. I want to do an aside real quick, because when I first started watching you, I was an early adopter of an early Blake Jameson fan last year, and watching you open boxes when you started doing that and
saying all the names wrong.
Pronunciation of player. But now, man, you are like, you've got the lingo down.
Working on it.
It's much, it's impressive. Let's just say that, to see how you've evolved as a fan, as a hobbyist, and knowing your stuff. It's pretty cool to see you learn so quickly. It's
fun. It's fun, man. It's trial by fire. I jumped in it, and I think that was like important too, to like, for me to get in and be one with the hobby, is just to be really open and be like, I don't know anything about modern players, and I hadn't followed baseball in a long time. I hadn't collected cards in a long time. Didn't know how to say the guys' names, all kinds of stuff. I did my first fantasy baseball season, and did crappy, learned a lot there too. But yeah, it's fun going all in on something, and like I said, I grew up collecting, and so that part of it was natural to me, and then just seeing like the evolution of online and the amplification of the relationships. It's been a fun journey, man. I still love ripping boxes. In fact,
why don't you rip them now?
We ripped a bunch of these. Yeah.
What is that, Wave 2?
Yeah, so this is the Wave 2. And so the feedback that I'm seeing online is people don't realize the cards are pretty small. So there's that card. There's like a Project 2020 card.
Right.
So it's
they're the same size as an old 1951 Topps card.
Exactly. And actually, I have one of those here for anyone watching the video version.
Nice.
It's Elmer Valo. I just wanted one of the originals. It's just so cool. Yeah, it's a fun, it's an awkward size, but I did find a very good what is it, Bowman 1954 inserts, these special sleeves, and then you can put these, or 50. Well, it was a Bowman. It was something. It's not 50. My cards are 51, but the sleeve itself, I think says 54 or something like that on it. I don't know.
54 Bowman's a super big card, so it would have to be 50 Bowman, maybe 1950 or 49.
40 something, 49. I don't know what it is. I'll have to find it. But then you can put them in a one touch once you have them in the sleeve, and that's kind of how we've been doing it. Okay, so we're gonna rip this. So anyway, so people were saying that they were surprised this box was really small, which it is small, and then you just have one pack inside with a little stuffer.
Because each box comes with a full set. What I don't like is that it doesn't tell you what wave it is on the box.
I know, and so some people's boxes do say Wave 2. I don't know why.
Right? It's a sticker on it. It's not the.
Yeah. It's a sticker. Okay, so I can tell. So when you open this too, this is one of my gripes with the set, is you open it and you see the back of the back card, and so for Wave 2 it says Sox. This is the Luis Robert, but you basically, any insert you get is at the end, and they have different color backs.
Gotcha.
So you open up the pack, and I immediately saw, it's a red back, which it could be. It could be this artist card actually does have a red back, but it has no team logo. But as soon as I see the Sox logo, I'm like, oh man. But they're cool. They're fun. The Griffey's a cool one. We got some overlap.
You did full paintings on each of those, and then, or are they just headshots for the painting?
Yeah, so they're just headshots. I just painted the
Love the Reggie. You had to do them in the A's, right?
I had to. I know. that was never a question. Yeah, but I think they look really cool.
I'm kind of mad you did Nolan Ryan on the Mets. I know you're in New York, but
I know. Yeah, that's true.
It's all right. You can do a special ring.
You never know. Like I almost did Griffey on the Reds. But I didn't. And also because Topps will like I had originally picked that, and then Topps is like, we think it'll sell better, if he's on Seattle. It's fine. I don't know if people feel that way about Nolan on the Mets or not, but
what about sales of 1951? Did they meet expectations? Were there any expectations from Topps, from you?
Good question. So Topps didn't really give me any. They did say okay, well, I was looking at Steve Aoki. He had done his set similar 4 waves. I think it was $20 a wave. It was a very, very similar the way that they released the product and everything. And his
distribution, similar distribution.
Yeah. And so he had 12,000 wave 1. And then waves 2 through 4, I think he had around 8,000. Now Steve Aoki is, he has millions of followers. He's a famous dude. So I was thinking okay, well that's the high end, right? That's the goal. But I was thinking, okay, if I do half of what Steve Aoki does, then that seems good considering I have 1/10 of the audience, or whatever. And we ended up doing a little bit better than that. So we did around 7,000 per wave. I think it was 7,200 first wave, 77 second wave, third wave was lower, 5,800, and then 7,000. So I don't know. I mean, it was good. It wasn't. I knew it wasn't going to do crazy Project 2020 numbers, but I also thought the price point was a lot different because you were paying the same price as a single Project 2020 card, but you're getting all 13, and you have a chance at inserts. Much more than just the gold 1 of 1 frame that you had in Project 20.
Are there 1 of 1 in 1951?
There are, and they have a gold. It's just a gold back.
Gotcha.
And there's a couple. There's a couple that have surfaced on eBay, and surprisingly, this is so this is 1 out of 100, and there's 1 in every wave. But I've only seen 10 of these show up online, which is really surprising to me because I'm obviously very motivated to have them. Now that I have 1, I feel better. I don't feel I have to chase every one. But before I pulled this one today, every single time I see one on eBay, I'm oh man, it's $200. People are really I don't know. They're holding on to them. They're hoarding them, which is smart, but I want to hoard them.
Did they start? I heard Topps is going to insert autographs in the waves 3 and 4, or is that true?
So the autos are not inserts. The autos that they did on 51 were sold a la carte separately, kind of like they did with Derek Jeter. You know how they sold some Derek Jeter retrospective auto cards? They did that. And so there were 3 players per wave that were released. So they did Cal Ripken, Mike Trout. I think they did Griffey. They did a handful of guys, but those were all sold online and are not being inserted into the packs. Unfortunately, that would be sick if you could chase autos in the packs. I would like that very much.
Yeah, I mean, and those got to be on. I haven't looked on the secondary market, but they've got to be just crazy. They're super expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears now. By the way, I love Project. Or not, it's not a project, the 1951.
It's okay.
Actually, before we move on to Project 70, I know you want to maybe give away a few boxes of the 1951.
Yeah. What do you think is the best way of doing it? I want to give away 3 boxes of the Wave 4s. And Wave 4s are cool because they have rookie cards of Casey Mize, Joey Bart, who is it, Alec Baum, a couple other rookies. So, and it's the first rookie card printed of that player. So I know there's a lot of debate, I guess, in the hobby of what's the true rookie card? Is it the first one printed with the rookie logo? Is it the Topps flagship product. We're the flagship product. But regardless, I think that those rookie cards are really cool. So I want to give away 3 complete waves.
So I have an easy way I think we can do this.
Great.
I want to give away 2 on the YouTube video.
Okay.
Through the people making comments. I'll randomize comments on the 21st of February. I'll do a draw on my channel here for 2 of them. And then I'd like you to give one on your Instagram. Basically, people have to go, if they watch this or listen to this and you're listening only on podcast, we want you to have a chance. So if you go to Blake's Instagram.
Love it.
And what can they do? Like send a DM or send a...
Let's see here. How about they comment Bench Clear Media on any post?
There you go.
Right. And let's give them so when is this going to air? Because let's give them 48 hours to do it or something.
Yeah, it'll air either Wednesday or Thursday this week. So
Tuesday, 18th. So let's see. So we say the 21st.
I was thinking the 21st.
By the 21st.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, comment on any of my posts, Bench Clear Media, and I'll get you an entry.
That's awesome. And then that way people that are listening only have a chance to win one too, because we have a nice, wonderful audience of podcast listeners for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, now, first of all, thank you for doing that. That's really cool.
Of course.
I'm going to go to your Instagram right after this and put in Bench Clear Media. No, I'm just
there you go.
I'm ineligible. Okay, so Project 70.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, I don't pull any punches. I'm pretty upfront. When I heard about Project 70, I was disappointed. Project 2020 had a special, intrigue and interest, and
it always will.
It always will.
It always
will. Now, not only is Topps doing another project, they're exponentially increasing the amount of artists, the amount of cards, the 3 cards a day instead of 2 cards a day. It's like, okay, at what point, and this is my own little editorial about this, when do you ruin a good thing? When is too much of a good thing too much?
Right.
I love ice cream, but I can only eat so much ice cream, and then I just don't want any more ice cream, right? So you can't say this because you're doing the project.
I'll be totally honest with you, man. So I don't know if you remember, but every Friday I would do interviews, and I interviewed other artists. And then one time I interviewed Jeff Heckman from Topps. He was the leader of Topps Project 2020. And we talked to him beforehand, said, hey, is there anything off limits? He said, no. And so I had a ton of fan questions, and the biggest fan question was are you guys doing this again next year? And his emphatic no, we're not going to do Project 2021. And I think, from Topps perspective, they're not doing Project 2021. They're making a new adaptation, right, of the concept and changing some things. And so I get both sides. I think so because Jeff said that, when Project 70 was announced to me, told to me, I was excited about it as an artist, but one of my first thoughts is people are going to be pissed off about this, right? Because we went over this and you said you guys weren't going to do this. And I get, they don't want to say, oh yeah, we're going to do it again, so that people just stop buying Project 2020. I get both sides. So I totally sympathize. Also, from a collector standpoint, I collected all of Project 2020. And I get discounts on my own cards, but everything else I paid full price for. And so, I spent how many thousands, it's thousands of dollars. It's like $8,000 or something for a set. And I was trying to do 2 full sets. I'm not quite there. I have some gaps to fill, but I spent tens of thousands of dollars on Topps cards. And I'm got skin in the game on 2020 set just as much as anyone else, beyond even my own cards. I'm not going to do that for Project 70. I'm not going to try and get the whole set. It's just not realistic for me financially. And I think that the same people are, a lot of people are going to feel that way. But I think if you just look at it as, it's there's so many different ways to collect it. And I don't even know how much people really understand kind of about the concepts of it, but there's,
do tell.
Okay. So there's 51 of us artists. because Topps started in 1951, and this is the 70th year. And so that started like my 1951 set kind of kicked off the year of a whole theme of kind of throwbacks to Topps' 70-year history. So we have 51 artists. Now, this time around, we get to pick our own players. And so we got huge lists. Every single active player, every single retired player, minus a couple fringe cases where Topps doesn't have the license. For example, Mickey Mantle. I couldn't get Mickey Mantle. MLB wouldn't let me do Pete Rose, unfortunately. But outside, I also tried to do Michael Jordan baseball cards, and they wouldn't let me do that either. But I'm always trying to push those kind of boundaries. I should have done like Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson. I didn't do either of those guys, but they would have been fun. And A's too, which is great. Right. Okay, so we get to choose our own players. And of course, everyone's going to choose Mike Trout. Everyone that's a smart business person is going to choose Mike Trout. I think there's going to be 51 Mike Trouts. That's a set right there. You could collect that set and just say that's going to be my set. And that's a really cool, wild set. I mean, you're going to have it designed from me to like Gregory Siff to Snoop Dogg designing a Mike Trout card. We're also going to have a lot of players that are like just picked by that one person. So I think Snoop will probably pick him, but like I picked Doc Ellis. I think Doc Ellis is going to have a sick collection between a few of us artists that like know what's up with Doc Ellis and like are going to have fun with it. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, and then you're going to have everything in between. So like you can collect and say, okay, I want to get all the Gregory Siffs, or I want to collect all of the Oakland A's cards, or I want to collect all the Mike Trout cards. It could just be like, there's just so many different ways to do it. And there's so many different artists that have in turn, like such big audiences, like Snoop Dogg. He's like, even if a couple people from his audience come into the hobby and then are here to stay, that's good for all of us.
Yeah. You've already picked your players, obviously. Has the checklist been released of who everybody's picked?
It hasn't. And to be honest, I don't know if Topps is going to do it. And the reason is because, if you know that like my Mike Trout card's not coming out till November, and that's what you have your eye on, like maybe you're not going to pay attention the rest of the year. So I get why they wouldn't want to do it, but we've gotten the green light to each share our own first player, which I've done. Mine's the Andrew McCutchen short print from last year that I'm kind of reimagining in the style of a 1959 Topps card. And that's another component to it is we're taking 70 years of Topps cards and then using a specific year as inspiration, pairing it with a particular player that we chose. We get to choose our own images from Getty and say, Topps, this is the picture I'm going to do. And for the most part, we are getting free range on that. So like, that's another way to collect the set. Say, oh, I love 1959. This is a vintage relevant. So it's like, oh, I love 1959. I'm going to collect all the 59 renditions. And like, there's going to be probably 50 of them in the whole year. And so then you could just have all the different 1959 cards or any card that my next card that I'm working on, my second one is 87. The wood grain, is the Mark McGwire rookie card. That was a really important year to me. And so for that, I'm doing like I'm painting everything on actual wood, and like I'm staining the wood grain, and it's going to be awesome. It's just like allowing me to do stuff that I couldn't do in 2020.
Well, let me ask you as an artist, going into this new project with a lot more flexibility. Before, here's 20 cards, here's the sample card, that you would use to be inspired. It's a lot more freedom. That to me, does that feel more empowering or more terrifying as an artist going into this?
I think because of my experience with Project 2020, I feel really, really good about it because now I have, like I said, I learned a lot about like how to make my art fit on 2.5 by 3.5 inches. And now also looking at like Project 2020, I look at my full set. I think there's cohesion, you could tell it's the same artist, which is great. But we were taking the reference cards were from all over the place in terms of decades, or years that they were from. this year, again, they still are all over the place because we're choosing from the last 70 years, but we're getting to choose ourselves. And so can be really intentional about that. And so I think my pairing some very old, vintage card designs with modern players that I'm super excited about. I'm doing a 1975 Trout that I think is going to be super fun.
You can't say that yet. The checklist.
I know everyone knows I'm doing Trout. Everyone's doing Trout. No, it's going to be fun. My Mccutchen is a 59, which I think that was a really cool year. Also, that's that's the same as this too. And so like I said, with the freedom and flexibility that Topps is giving us now, we got to choose our players, we choose our years. And then I specifically was like, okay, I would like Mccutchen to be 1959, and I want it to be first, and I want it to be early in the set because it's coming right off the back of this, and I want it to be a smooth transition, once say into the next, and that's going to do it. Between this card and the Mccutchen card, I think are going to look awesome together, and they're completely different products.
How many cards are you? Remind me, I can't remember. How many cards are you doing?
20 per artist.
Okay, so it's going to be 1,000.
Total, just over 1,000. Yeah,
1,020 cards, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is way more than the 400 cards that Project 2020 was.
It's insane.
But I think it gives collectors options, right? I mean, you're going to find out real quick whose style you really like. But I will tell you, even through Project 2020, there were artists whose style I didn't really dig at the beginning. Mm-hmm. But as it went on, like Sophia Chang, for example, I'm now trying to go get a bunch of different Sophia Chang cards because I really liked what she was doing as I saw more and more of her cards in the project. Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you get to know the artists, right? You get to know Sophia's story a little, or Gregory's or whatever.
Yeah, because you interviewed Sophia on your channel, right? And I remember seeing that and thinking, okay, this lady's really cool. It's just neat, right? There's all these different layers of this that collectors can embrace and choose to do it, choose to not do it. Does it feel weird they're doing 3 cards a day? Do you feel like you might get lost in the shuffle a little, or each card you have to stand on its own?
I'm not worried about it. I think it's great, especially because, we look at, so Project 2020, 20 artists, most of them came back. So now there's 51 artists. So about 30 new artists, right? So if we're doing 3 cards a day and I'm being paired with 2 other random artists, that means that 30 out of the 50 artists that I could potentially be paired with are brand new people that their audience has never seen my art. And so I just think of this as a numbers game. I'm going to keep getting paired with people who are going to send traffic to this page and try and sell 3 packs of Topps cards or whatever, sell the cards of the day. People are going to see my art, and that's tons of opportunities for me to onboard new fans. The other thing that I think, I'm not 100% sure if this is going to happen or not. We're going to find out tomorrow now, or by the time this airs, I guess we'll find out. But Topps had mentioned trying to set up some type of subscription option. And so if you wanted to subscribe to my set, you just, set it up ahead of time, and then they'll just, every time I have a card drop, they'll place the order for you. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yes.
And for Topps' standpoint, that's great. For me as a collector, that's great because I collect, I won't do all the whole set because I just can't afford it, but I will definitely collect a handful of artists. And if I can just subscribe to Gregory Sif on lock, I'll gladly do it. I would even pay a premium to not have to log on every time, right? If that's the case, then I take off my artist hat, put on my business hat, and say, okay, this is the game now this year. It's completely changed. And now all we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to subscribe to my set. And that's the jump. That's from day one. That is the jump. And so I will come up with crazy offers for people to say, hey, if you subscribe to my set, you send me a screenshot proving that you've signed up for it, I'm going to send you X. And it's going to be a really nice thing. Because for me, the long-term value of having a customer that if I can get them in at card number 1 and they're going to buy all 20 of my cards, granted, my royalties on a single card sale is not a lot, right? But that adds up. If I make that my focus and I can try and onboard 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people, if I can get 1,000 people subscribed, then it's like by the time card 20 comes, those people are so invested in my business. Like it's going to be amazing. So I really, my fingers are crossed that happens. I think if it doesn't happen, I'm going to do I want to come up with some type of system like it where fans could tell me, hey, I'll pay, you handle cause I will handle all the orders. If people don't want to miss any of my cards, they want to prepay and just say, oh, I want the full set. They can pay me now and I will order cards all year long. Cause I'm going to order all of my own cards, So hopefully Topps has the subscription and I don't have to do a workaround, but I do think that would be a huge game changer from an art business perspective. And
that's or you could subscribe even for whoever does a Trout card. I want a Trout, or if you wanted to subscribe by player, which then at the very beginning they'd have to tell you at least all the players being represented by at least one of the artists. Maybe not in the order.
That's true.
But that's not a bad thing. I don't need to know your Mount Trout.
Yeah.
I just know here's the 20 artists or 20 players that Blake Jamison's doing over the course of the year. You won't know when if you're wanting the Trout, you don't know when it's coming out.
Right.
But at least I know, okay, I would, as a buyer, I would go, okay, I like all those players that Blake's doing. I do want to subscribe. If I don't know what I'm going to get, it's hard for me to commit to subscribing.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that. I think and that's something that I would be happy. If Top said, okay, we're going to do the subscription, but people aren't going to know what art, who you're painting, then I would just petition to say, well, let me just release my checklist then. Cause I want people to know what they're in for.
Right.
And, I don't care. I'm excited about my list, obviously. And I think everyone else is going to be excited about it, but we'll see.
I think the deterrent would be more if they don't know than if they know, and there might be a player or two they don't necessarily care for, but the other 17 or 15 or however many are like, oh yeah, I would love to see what Blake's interpretation is going to be of this, versus a completely unknown is hard to commit to from a subscription standpoint, versus at least I know they may not all be I'd really dig the Doc Ellis idea, but some people might not. So
sure.
I think it's better than not better to release the players that each artist will be painting. Again, you don't know when they might come out or whatever. Are you going to do artist autographs and everything this year with Project 70? And
so I am. I just launched the first wave 1 autographs on the 1951 on my website, blake.art. And that's another thing, I learned a lot. I think one thing I plan to do for this year, different than last year, is I'm going to limit the number of autos quite a bit, scale down a ton for a handful of reasons. Number one, we're still sitting on a good amount of inventory for, Mariano Rivera. I did 500 red autographs. That's unnecessary.
Right.
We sold about half of them, which is great. Selling 250 red Mariano autographs is great. We sold them for, we did well. But now we're sitting on the other 250 that are taking up room in my expensive apartment, and that's precious space. So I'm definitely going to cut that way, way down. So for 1951, for each card, I did a 1 of 1 gold, 3 silver, and then 10 of a particular color. And so we've got, red, blue, orange, green so far, the color autos, but it's not of each. So Trout, for example, there's just 10 red Trouts and that's it. There's no green Trouts. We just made the color kind of go with the player. So I think I'll do something like that. It'll probably be somewhere in between, 1951, just doing 14 autographs of each card is very manageable for me from a production standpoint. Shipping, everything just keeps it simple. But, there's definitely more than 14 Mike Trout fans out there. And so those ones sold out fast. And I know people wish they got one. So it's a balance. We'll see with Project 70, but I'll do my best try and make it limited so that it's, chaseable, but also, achievable. If someone doesn't feel like they're just getting beat every time, they can never get a chance at a card. I don't want that. I I want that sweet spot.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this plays out a little bit. I don't expect print runs to be certainly not the frenzy we had.
You want my hot take?
Let me hear it.
Snoop Dogg is going to beat Keith Shore's record. If this is a big if he promotes it, like really like pushes the card, because he has a huge platform.
Sure.
And if he could break Keith Shore's record on his very first card, I think. But it would take him like actually like recording an Instagram story, telling people to go buy the card and putting an Instagram post and posting on his Facebook and tweeting about it. You know, he would have to do everything. But if he does everything, I think Snoop Dogg will beat Keith Shore's record. And I think people will be surprised because it seemed like, you know, the frenzy last year was real, right? The 100,000 Ken Griffey, like that was no joke. But that was for Keith Shore. And Keith, don't get me wrong, I love Keith Shore's art. He is very he's a veteran, you know, he does his thing. He works with brewing company, he works with baseball stadiums, he works with Topps. But like, I mean, man, some of the guys they got, and not just Snoop, but like a handful of the guys, like it's really randomly. I was just looking at like, okay, New York Nico. I didn't know who it was. My girlfriend Sam said, she's like, oh, I follow this guy New York Nico. Like he's in the set. That's so cool. Like he's got 500,000 followers on Instagram. And like, I didn't know who he was, but like if that dude, if his fan base is like really engaged and he pushes it hard, like, I mean, those print runs could be challenged, I think, but in a different way, because it's not necessarily a bubble of everyone trying to buy it to flip it. It's like, no, like the dude who made this card has like 1 million fans, you know, and like people couldn't get my art for $20 before last year, and then all of a sudden a bunch of them could, and you know, thousands of them did. That's fantastic. For someone else, that might be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. It's really the talent pool is insane.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it'll be interesting. Again, I'm worried about Topps as Topps being Topps, which is overkilling a good idea.
Yep.
They have a long history of that, Blake, let me tell you. And I don't necessarily blame them. They're a business.
Sure.
Right? So they're going to, you know, you ride her till she bucks you kind of thing. That's an old Texas saying, by the way. Ride her till she bucks you. But all right, one last topic, and then I'll let you go because I know you're a busy dude. The Super Bowl.
Let's do it.
How cool was that, by the way, getting to go to the Super Bowl and be at Cam Newton's party? And tell me about that and how that all came about.
Okay, so yes, I will, but disclaimer. So that was actually that Super Bowl. That was last Super Bowl, not this one.
Oh, I thought it was this one.
I know you did, and everyone did because I posted the video the day after the Super Bowl. I just had that footage from last Super Bowl for a year. And one of the things I started doing this year was I hired a couple video editors, and I've got them like editing some old content so I can start telling the story. Because, you know, a lot of people discovered me, and then I was live streaming all the time, and so they could see what I'm doing now. But like stuff like painting at Cam Newton's Super Bowl party, which I did before Project 2020, a lot of people didn't know about. And so I wanted to start putting that stuff out there. I strategically was trying to get it done. I wanted to post it the day of the Super Bowl, but I posted it the day after. But yeah, I think a lot of people probably thought I was at the Super Bowl because it was also in Florida. You know,
I totally did, by the way, when I watched it. I totally didn't even think that it was.
Because also the Chiefs were playing, and I was painting a picture of the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I mean, everything like it translated really well. But to answer your question, it was awesome. It was like back-to-back. I had back-to-back Miami trips last year, one to Art Basel and then one to paint at the Super Bowl. And it was like one after the other. Art Basel was first. I got the lay of the land. I hadn't really ever been to South Beach, Miami in my adult life. Poppin' art scene, like cool area. Got the lay of the land during Basel, came back during the Super Bowl, had a great time. Met Cam, got to gift him a painting that I had done last year for him. And went to the tailgate party for the Super Bowl. I didn't get to go to the game, but you know, just watched the game back at the SLS hotel. But it was a great time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Just a while ago. Yeah.
Well, man, thanks so much for being on the show again. It's great being your friend, and just, we don't communicate a lot, but I appreciate you're very open to communicating, and you open to the hobby, open to everybody in the community. And I think that has boded well for you.
Thank you.
So far, and I think it will continue to reap benefits for you down the road. So keep it up, man.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So everybody out there, go check out Project 70 Cards. When's your first card drop?
On Monday. So what's that? February
21st?
22nd. Yeah.
And that'll be the Mccutchen. So go check that out on Topps.com. He's Blake Jameson everywhere on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, you name it. If you can't find Blake Jameson, just Google his name and you'll be taken all over the interwebs to find him. And very interactive. Enjoy that. So thanks everybody for watching and listening. Hey, keep collecting. We'll catch you soon.
That's right. Stay awesome. Thanks.